Hello, financial coaches and Financial Coaches Unite community. How are you guys today? I'm hopping on today and we're talking about a pretty heavy topic, but I definitely feel like this is something that I wanted to share with you guys. I had a pretty big emotional coaching morning this morning, and it just really has me reflecting on our role as financial coaches, how we can show up to serve and support our clients in the best way possible. And as emotional as this morning was, and as some coaching conversations can be, I'm also feeling really full of gratitude for my role in the world, in my ability to support people while they are going through a crisis or trauma, which is what we're about to talk about. And I just wanted to share some insights with some of you who are maybe newer coaches and have not yet walked a client through some pretty serious crisis. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jill Emanuel. I am one of the admins of this group. I'm also one of the instructors of the Financial Coach Academy and the Financial Coaching Toolkit. I am the director of coaching for Fiscal Fitness Phoenix and one of the podcast hosts for Fiscal Fitness Phoenix also. And I love financial coaching. This is my passion. It is my heart. It is everything that I've been drawn to do my entire life. I feel truly blessed to be in this role. And today I want to talk to you about a rather heavy topic, but something that I think that is very important for all of us as financial coaches to have on our radar, to have at least some semblance of a skill set around, some awareness around, and be prepared to have these conversations. So today we're talking about supporting a client during crisis or trauma. Coaching, financial coaching, it is not always about celebrating the financial goals and wins that our clients have. It's not always about helping them get out of debt or helping them with their budget or how to make the best financial decisions. The beauty of having a financial coach for many clients is to have someone there not only to help them navigate their big financial decisions and to strategize around how to reach their goals, but it also is to have someone there to support them when tragedy strikes. And that's what I'm here to share with you about today. So as you work with more and more clients, it's highly likely that you'll find yourself working with people who are going through some major life changes. Over the years, I've seen my clients through job losses, through major medical events or diagnoses, through losing family members or other loved ones, through going through depression or divorce, or dealing with infidelity or addictions. And today I worked with a client whose daughter was just violently raped. It was an emotional morning, to say the least, you guys, but it really has me reflecting on what an amazing role it is to be a coach and to be able to really meet our clients right where they are and serve them with what they need most in the current moment. And I hope that none of you will ever have to have the conversation that I did this morning, but I also want to share with you how to navigate these really difficult conversations and show up for your clients in the best way possible if or when a tragedy occurs, okay? So let's dive in. I've got a few different points I think that we just want to go over, and just sort of how to navigate this really challenging conversation, how to make the most of the coaching session, and to really support your client in the best way possible. I'm also going to end with talking about how you, the coach, need to be very self-aware also of just the emotional roller coaster and toll that it can take on you when you are having these very heartfelt, difficult, challenging conversations with your clients, especially if you have other obligations that day. You have other coaching clients waiting on the other side of this really challenging conversation. How do you move from something very traumatic and show up in a powerful way still to support that next client or the next referral partner or meeting or whatever it is that you have to run into? All right, guys, so here we go. I have notes because, of course, it helps me to stay on track, but also this is just an emotional topic, and so it really just helps me to stay focused, okay? So the first thing when you walk into a coaching session and find out that there has been some sort of tragedy or trauma is to just simply hear your client. I know that as coaches and as financial coaches specifically, we are very much problem solvers. We love to show up and immediately go into problem solving mode. We want to fix things. We want to look for the ways to make it all better and solve it. But the very first thing I want you guys to have on your radar is to simply hear them. So some people might need to unload. They might feel emotional. They might just need to be heard. Others are not going to want to discuss too much, that it's too painful for them, that they can't let their mind go there because they don't want to lose it. So you need to just be prepared to hold space for them, whatever that looks like. So don't go rushing immediately into solving the problem, into your most natural, probably, mode of handling things. Your first step is to simply hear them, whatever that looks like for them. Give them some space to express or not express whatever it is that they need to say. Now, the second thing on the note is that if you walk into a coaching session and discover that there's been some sort of crisis or trauma, you want to verify that the client actually can be coached today. Sometimes they're showing up because they are the calendar follower, the rule follower. They need to be there. They don't know how to cancel, or they don't want to do so last minute. But sometimes you just need to verify, are you okay to be coached today? Is this going to be serving you the best way possible, or do we need to reschedule? We do have a very strict cancellation policy, last minute policy at Physical Fitness. We only allow people one time per year, but in scenarios like this, extreme scenarios, emergencies, unforeseen circumstances, we are very flexible around that. And that is your role as the coach, as the business owner. You get to decide how you want to handle those situations. And for something like this, absolutely, I would have no problem saying, let's move it to another day. Let's carry your session over. If today is not a good day to have a conversation, you're not going to lose your session. So please reassure your client that you are there to fully support them in whatever way that is. And maybe it's to coach them today, and maybe it's not. So verify with them where they're at and how they are best going to be served. Sometimes they need to be with family. They need to go cry. They have other things on their to-do list that are urgent and might feel more important than this session in the moment. While at other times they think, I really do need this. I need some sense of normalcy. I need to feel some sort of control over life right now. I need to at least have some guidelines to prepare me for the unknown right now. And this is actually going to help me to deal with this tragedy or trauma in a better way. So please ask them first, verify that they do want to be coached, and give them an out. If it's not, fully support them with whatever thing they think is going to serve them the best. All right, third thing on my list is to just simply ask them, what is going to help you the most right now? They may have something that's right on their radar, something that they know right away that they're seeing coming because of this new crisis or trauma that they know they need to deal with and they need a plan for. Or if you ask them what is going to help you the most and they're in a state of shock, in overwhelm, they don't know where to begin, they can't make a decision right now because their brain is so on fire, this is really your place to step up and flex your muscle as a problem solver to sort of take direction of the call if that is their current state, and say, listen, these are some of the things that I'm seeing that we can put in place. How does this sound to you? So ask them first, give them the opportunity to present if there is something that is very pressing that needs to be addressed and that they're aware of. But also, if they can't come up with that, you take the reins, you're the leader of the call at that point, and you help to support them. Okay, number 4 is to set aside any other goals, anything else that you have been focused on during your time together as a financial coach and coachee. if they're working on getting out of debt, if they, are saving for a vacation, all of that goes out the window. If a crisis or trauma occurs, your job is to support them getting through this crisis right now in the best way possible. So what you don't want to do is say, oh, we need to address now, like this client's case, that you are going to be having your daughter in therapy 1 or 2 times a week, and it's going to be $1,600 a month. You don't want to say, well, we're not going to be able to put money towards your IRA, or we're not going to be able to put money towards your debt, or something like that. We don't need to be detracting them from the goals that they had their heart set on. We simply need to say, how can we handle this right now? So don't let them think about what they're giving up. Your role is to help solve the problem at hand right now, and to just say, listen, we're focusing on this. This is the most important thing that we have. Your other goals, we'll get back to them at some point. We're not going to worry about that right now. Right now, our focus is on supporting you and on supporting your family, or whatever the circumstance may be, and redirect all efforts to this current crisis and trauma to let them feel some sense of control, and to let them, have a sense of relief of this worry or burden that might be on their shoulders in this moment, because they're struck with something very heavy. Okay, so, I'm losing spots on my notes, but they need to feel as though they have a sense of control of something, because when crisis or trauma has happened, life feels very out of control. So your job is to help them really feel as if they're gaining control of things, okay? So another thing that you can do when you're dealing with a client that just has experienced some crisis or trauma is to take care of any pressing matters right there on the call. Now, normally it isn't fun to be like, let's go pay this bill together while we're on the call. Who else can you pay? What else is coming up? Why don't you look up that balance? Let's take care of it right now. Let's initiate money transfers. Normally you would likely give that as a to-do list or task to your client, or they just know that that's something that's on their radar. But while your client is in a state of overwhelm because of dealing with a crisis, they might just simply need some very tactical actions like that to get things knocked off of their to-do list. It is not a waste of your coaching session to guide them through that, because chances are that they could forget about it, be overwhelmed by it, that it feels like one more task that's very burdensome and heavy while they're dealing with a lot already going on. And so giving them the time, or helping them to actually initiate or take action in some of those to-dos that they might have had to worry about later, can actually be a huge sense of relief for them to sort of clear their calendar and know that everything is taken care of. I would also say the next thing on the list is to just give them very clear-cut answers or guidelines. So, in this case, we said, okay, we're putting X amount of money towards this, and we're putting X towards that, and this is how much we're going to budget for, X, Y, and Z. Like very, very clear numbers and expectations, not anything super complicated for them or something that they're going to have to come back to and revisit. You want to try to do as much as you can to put things in place to release the burden of them having to track all of their expenses. If they can get by for a week or for 2 weeks without having to log in and update their budget, that is a huge gift that you're giving to them. So try to get as much done as you can on that call and sort of clear as much space for them in their financial world so that they can deal with everything that they have going on in the rest of their world, because it's going to be pretty all-encompassing for a time. Understand that when a client comes to you in a session where there has been a huge crisis or something happening, that there are going to likely be a lot of unknowns. You might ask them questions and they're going to say, I don't know. And if you ask them too many and you start to see this pattern happening where they are starting to have this like overwhelm, that's, they're realizing how much they don't know, or how many things might still be lying down the road that they haven't yet thought of because they're still sort of in the moment of dealing with this or coming to terms with what's happened. you don't want to like push them into this state of feeling too anxious or overwhelmed because there are so many unknowns. So your role as the coach is to really think in terms of very broad categories of what likely could happen without like asking too many detailed questions that they most likely don't have the answer to. So for example, a client who maybe just got a cancer diagnosis, they likely are going to have some large medical expenses. They might have time off from work. They might have, calendaring issues where they're going to be like driving back and forth or might need childcare. So you want to think in terms of those very large sort of expenses and say, we need to start putting extra towards your medical fund. Let's just shift all efforts to put money there, and we can use it however is needed based on whatever expenses come up. Same with this situation this morning where the client's daughter is on the East Coast. She's here on the West Coast, and she is, has already traveled back and forth and is planning to be going back again, might be staying for the next, 2 months while her daughter finishes college to be there. So we're talking some really big travel expenses, renting a house, doing Airbnb or a hotel for a number of months. So again, we're talking very big picture sort of things. We're not getting into like, how much is the flight and do you have points and how much is in your travel budget right now, and have you decided if you're staying in a hotel or if you're renting a house. Like, none of that matters in this moment. The focus is, let's shift all efforts to travel and just shove as much money into travel for you to make whatever decisions you need to make around travel, because you're going to be doing that. So again, thinking in broader strokes is actually a really good thing for a person that's in crisis, because they simply want to know there's cushion there, there's support there, that they have the finances to support whatever it is that they're going to need in that particular area, and they don't have the mental capacity most likely in this moment to know the details or to think through all of the decisions that need to be made for those detailed sorts of questions. All right, so that's that one. My final note here, when someone shows up and there has been some sort of tragedy that occurs, is to simply love on them, support them, be in gratitude that you can hold space for them. They likely don't have someone else that's serving this particular role in this moment that is letting them, be a bit emotional and be heard and also feel supported and feel as though they have a burden lifted off of their shoulders and that they have a plan to tackle this tragedy with. And oftentimes just simply getting into a little bit of that problem solving, or letting them know that, hey, we're shifting focus and there's no expectation of you to be doing anything else, showing up for anything else, that we're simply here to support in this moment for this thing, is exactly what they need. So it really is a very beautiful thing as our role as their coach. So the final thing that I wanted to touch on is that, as the coach, it's really important for you to be very aware of your own energy when you're having tough coaching days, because they are going to happen. Not all of our coaching conversations are exciting. They're not all fun. They're also can be challenging in very different ways. This call in particular was a very emotional sort of call. It was not dealing with debt or a financial sort of stressor. This was a very different type of emotional call, and they're going to happen because you, as the coach, are intertwined in all of the moving pieces of your clients' lives most likely, and you're going to be impacted by those or have an impact on those. You may be going back to back in coaching sessions. So that is exactly what happened for me this morning, was that I was going directly from this call right into another call. And it is really important for you to be aware of your own emotional roller coaster that you may be riding, so that you don't bring that stress or worry or trauma from the previous session into your next. So let's just talk about that for a few moments as we're kind of wrapping this topic up. So some things that you do not want to do, okay? You do not want to show up to the next session and share with your client that you've had an emotional day, or a tough session. You don't want to share with them, oh gosh, I just got done with a client who's dealing with X. And I know you're not trying to gossip or spread anything around or whatever the case may be, but sometimes our clients will say, well, how are you? And if we know them very well, the natural inclination is to be like, oh gosh, it's been a pretty rough day. I've had some tough sessions, or whatever the case may be. And it is really important for you to filter that, to leave that out, to remove that. It is not your client's responsibility to share that burden with you. They are showing up for you to serve them and not for them to support you on a tough day. So just make sure that although it may feel very tempting, or it's just so fresh on your mind, and it can be very burdensome and heavy, and sometimes we just need to share with someone or release it, or at least say, I'm having a tough day, but this is not the time to do it. Okay, so I want you to be very aware of that, to take a pause when you get off of that emotional coaching call or coaching session, whether you're on Zoom or in person or on the phone. Like, you need to give yourself just a moment of space to sort of set that down, right? Set that down before you walk into the next one. You also just don't want to carry a heavy energy with you as you go into your next call. So maybe you're not saying anything per se, like you're not telling them, oh, I've had a rough day, or I just talked with a client who just got into a car accident, or whatever the case may be. But we can carry an energy with us, so we can show up and be a little bit low, or be a little bit unengaged, or we can just feel that heaviness in the next call. And I know that this is really hard sometimes, to leave something when it has been very emotional, very heavy, a really challenging call or conversation, but you really have to set that story down and leave it before you step into the next coaching session. Your job is to be fully present for each one of your clients, to be there to fully support them. And things can be happening in your own life, in the lives of your loved ones, or in this example, in the life of another client, but you cannot bring that burden into a coaching session. Your job is to show up as renewed and focused in serving that current client in front of you as you possibly can. So this can really take a lot of self-awareness. It sometimes can take a lot of practice. But really, you want to observe your energy as you're about to go into a coaching session, and really make sure that you're showing up as the highest level of yourself to serve that client that you have in front of you. And you need to really keep it in check. If there's something else going on, make sure that you're not carrying that heaviness or burden from a prior conversation into the new coaching call. And, while you likely feel very connected to the client, empathize for them, feel their pain, maybe share some tears with them. I know I did this morning. Then your role is really to shift and show up as a financial coach, show up to fully support them, help them to overcome the challenges. And I know that for me, as I reflect upon this morning, as heavy as it was, as challenging as the conversation was, as heartbroken as I feel still for this client of mine and her daughter, I also feel really blessed for my role in her life and for being there to support her in a really challenging time. I feel so wonderful that this client does not have to worry about a to-do list this next week, that she doesn't have to have any fear that a bill might overdraft her account or something might be late, that she's supposed to pay someone and maybe she hasn't done it, or, stress about if she's going to be flying back and forth. I love that through our coaching, she knows her daughter can have as many sessions with her therapist as she wants, and that everything's going to be paid for and okay. That maybe some other goals are taking the back burner right now, but she can go and stay on the East Coast for the next 6 weeks until her daughter's done with the semester in college, and she can be there with her every single day. And it is planned for, and it is financially okay for her to do that, and that is not one aspect of this very challenging time in life that she has to still figure out and try to navigate. That is a beautiful, beautiful gift that we can give to our clients through our role as their financial coach. We are not only supporting them and giving them space and letting them be heard, but we're helping them to have those opportunities to support themselves, their family members, in their most fullest way possible, also because we help them to navigate the financial aspects and take that burden off of their shoulders. And I feel really, truly blessed that I am able to hold that space and play that role in the lives of my clients, as I was this morning for this particular client and the horrible trauma that she has had. It is a beautiful gift. And while I feel emotionally spent, I also feel like my heart is really full, and I feel very lucky for what I get to do. All right, that's it for today, guys. Bye.